It's quite a thing, huh?
There it is.
Whoa.
That is really
It's quite a thing, huh?
heavy.
Wow.
What's up? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for accepting. I mean, I was like, I'm sure she's so busy because I know.
Oh, good. Got to make time for other great women, Come on.
Thank you. But how come you have dogs and chicken at the same time?
I live so I'm in near Los Angeles, but it's an area there's a place called Joshua Tree. It's like where U2 did their album cover and stuff. So I'm on like half an acre of land in the middle of the desert. So
Whoa,
so it's pretty cool. I have a small house, but it's just like I can have some space. And so, during the pandemic, we all got into some weird stuff, and I got into chickens.
Yeah, I saw that. You have even like a sort of broadcast with them where you see with your chicken.
Super fun.
That's cool. I think really the pandemic did lots of stuff for all of us. Like it made us kind of reflect and change in a way. And maybe chicken were your way. You have fun to self-develop with the chicken. So great. So Charlie's Theory of Rock Music. I love that title they gave you. Really, that's how I feel actually about you. Like the first time I knew you through Great Days for sure. It caught my attention. I was like, first, this is a woman. And second, she's South African and she's in the US working with such people. I don't really often hear about people like this, who get such opportunities, especially if you're not a man and you're not white. I mean, like you're not from the US. And so that's amazing. And that's why I was like, this woman is just an inspiration. So I have to find a way to talk to her. And so, yeah, how did it start? Like living the American dream?
Oh man, it's like I've been in the music industry for over 20 years now. In South Africa, I played in a band there called Stealing Love Jones, and Stealing Love Jones had 6 #1 hits in South Africa. It was kind of in the time, it was sort of just before the Avril Lavigne kind of stage, so there wasn't a woman or a girl band that was filling that, and then Avril Lavigne kind of popped up, and so that's where it started in South Africa, and we invested in doing a tour in America, which failed horribly because we were such huge fish in such a tiny little pond in South Africa. And America's so big, America really is the entertainment capital of the world. I mean, LA or New York really, but there's such a massive market here, and it just kind of swallowed us up. But that's sort of where it all started. I mean, I had my sights set on being in LA and Hollywood from when I was a very young girl. And I mean, honestly, it's just hustle, and I'm pretty persistent and brazen, and I just was like, nothing's gonna stop me from my dream, and that's it, So I left the band the band disbanded after our terrible American tour. And
I have listened to this, and I was like, damn, people just would from the outside assume like, okay, she's living the American dream. She was in South Africa, she went to the US, and now she works with all these people, but it doesn't go this way. And I was impressed by, I mean, you had your own journey, and it's crazy. As you mentioned, this band you were with was big, like you were a rock star in South Africa, and then you moved to the US expecting probably the same thing, especially if you went to tour with and then boom, the failure.
Yeah, I mean, I had mad delusions of grandeur, it was like, I was a young kid, and I was so full of myself, and, we were so big in South Africa that my head was like this big, we being flown around in private jets and getting all this great treatment. and I really thought that I was all that, and then got to the States and realized, oh gosh, I have so much to learn, you know. But that didn't stop me. I realized that you know, life is a continual journey, and you have to keep learning.
Yeah.
So I mean, I moved to San Diego. I had a friend there, and it was actually Sean from the band Seether. He took me under his wing, and him and I have a long history, and he's been so great to me. And he was just like, SJ, you need to move to San Diego and find some good friends, because I know who you are as a person. You're super emotional and super sensitive, and LA and Americans are just gonna freaking eat you up. They're gonna destroy you, you know. So I thought that was some good advice. And I literally started from scratch again. I was playing in bars like 5-6 times a week, doing cover gigs, playing like 3 hours a night every single night. And then eventually I met somebody that was on the production songwriting side, and she was like, hey, you know, why don't you come and try out songwriting for other people? And that blew my mind, because I was like, what do you mean artists don't write their own songs? I was just so confused
Oh
by
my
this
gosh.
concept,
You
you know?
expected all artists to write their lyrics, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really was so naive, and I kind of am still am to
I think
a varying degree.
that's a common trait for Africans in general.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm North African, so I felt that way many times when I moved to Europe. So I feel that
So where are you right now?
I'm in Paris.
Oh, cool.
So now it's
You know, my partner Lucas is in
yeah, I
Paris.
was gonna tell you now. I remind you of the time you were working with Lucas. Now it's like 8 p.m. here, and there it's 11 a.m. So it's crazy.
I just spoke to him this morning, because he's him and I Lucas is one of my main collaborators on the We Are Pigs project. So I was just chatting to him this morning. That's cool. I got to connect you guys once this
Oh,
pandemic is over.
that's
You'll love him.
that's
He's awesome.
cool. That's cool. But yeah, your journey is just really amazing because just like I listened to one of your podcasts with one of your friends from South Africa, and I loved when he mentioned that people often just see the result. They assume, okay, you're now in the US, you're working with these people, so and that's it. And they would be like many people, I want to be like that, but they don't see how you reach it there. So it's just insane. And how you mentioned you were just getting $50 per night for playing in bars and sleeping at
Totally.
friends coaches, and that's just
Totally. I mean,
crazy.
it kind of, the music industry kind of is still like that to a certain degree. You know, it's like the weird thing is, like that saying, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's very prominent in the music industry, because the thing is like, the bigger you become as an artist, the more people will do work for you for free. So people like me, you know, where production and songwriting and stuff, like that's my bread and butter. You know, if I don't do it for free, somebody else will do it. So it's a really hard situation, because I want it on my resume, but I still have to be able to pay my bills, you know. So it's a really tough, like it's a really tough, mind-blowing, weird situation, you know. You don't go to the dentist and be like, hey, would you mind doing my teeth for free, you know? just because I'm gonna like hook you up with something else down the line. So it's a weird industry.
Yeah, it's exactly, it's kind of feels like it's a closed place, and you have like it's gonna always be weird to just stand at the door and be like, can I please enter? So you have to figure out a way to do it, that's for
Totally.
sure. And it's funny because I myself, like 2 years ago when I first got the idea, I want to integrate, I want to get a place in the music industry, and I just moved to Europe. Like, I mean, it's not the same. We don't really, rock music is not even common in North Africa from where I come. So that was just, I was thinking I want to do something. I don't know how. I didn't know any person. And I remember first time I spoke to one of the people who worked with Linkin Park, just because he was close to the fans. So I was like, okay, I have a chance. This guy answers me. I just asked for advice. And he said exactly what you mentioned. You got to do something for free,
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, but I'm almost gonna graduate, so I would need to pay my bills. So you find it's kind of hard, yeah, for anybody who thinks about this industry. So just like you said, you have to be ready to do whatever it takes.
Hey,
It's
hey man, honestly, like I would rather, like to this day, I would rather be sleeping in my car or like, sleeping on a couch than doing anything else. Like there's music for me is the only thing that music and food. Let me say that. Like music and food are the only things that just make me happy in life. So you gotta do what you gotta know yourself and do what makes you happy.
exactly, that's your calling, it's your purpose. So you cannot uh, change anything about it. But I was wondering because you mentioned it once that you grew up listening to Christian bands that, and you said exactly like that's what I was allowed to listen to.
Yeah.
I don't understand that because I don't know anything about South Africa. So also Christian bands, and actually I didn't even know about the Christian bands thing until like my age now, and I
Yeah.
realized that I grew up actually listening to some Christian bands. So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
So I grew up in the church. It was like a new covenant kind of happy clappy, and I'm stoked about it because everything I learned about music, I mean, it's like it was a full rock band for the worship band. It was like these massive like $250,000 freaking like PAs and in-ear monitors and just so it was everything that I learned about music and performing and was through the church, but it was the way that I was brought into it. My parents were just like, you can't listen to the church wouldn't allow us to listen to secular music because it was the devil's music, which is just so mind blowing. But so I mean, honestly, I didn't even know who like the Smashing Pumpkins were until I was like 22 years old. So it was, I just had a whole life of in high school growing up listening to bands like POD and Skillet, Pillar, those kind of DC Talk. Those were the bands that I grew up on, and I think the songwriting and all the worship stuff like Hillsong and all those really huge. I call them a cult now just because I've been in it and I've seen it, and I disagree with a lot of what goes on in there, and I think Christians in general are just not what Jesus would want them to be. So
Yeah, it's
I kind of have like a weird love-hate relationship with God and church and all of that just because of my upbringing. But yeah, it was so eye-opening to me because I was such a judgmental asshole my entire life. Like people were listening to other music, or people were Hindu or Muslim or something, and I was just like, oh no, I can't be your friend because you're going to hell. I'm just like, now it just blows my mind that I would even think that way.
yeah, it's funny you brought this up because I actually also had like this love hate relationship with God, and I don't necessarily believe like in the notion like God the way religious people think about it, but I think like I grew up in a Muslim family, so
Right.
the set they used to think that satanic music whenever I listened to rock, so they would rip
Totally. You
posters off
get
my
it.
wall. They would not allow me to have rock magazines or even listen actually to the music, so I had like to really listen secretly to the rock music, and it was
Right. Well, then
crazy.
you get it.
Yeah, but also I didn't even have friends because they would make fun of my music genre. People didn't really listen to that kind. And
Right.
I remember there were some friends who would tell me like, "Be careful, like rock music. There's some conspiracy theories actually about rock music out there,
Yeah.
where they tell you like these rock people they make sure you become addicted. That's why you're loving the music."
Oh my gosh. Isn't
I
it
swear.
crazy?
It was so weird. And now I'm like, what the hell? How can people
Yeah.
even think about that? I don't understand. But some Christian people in the industry makes you kind of like, I don't know. I think they are the ones who should represent or this religion. I don't know much. I mean, I'm not a religious person, but the way, for example, Lacey Storm or Brian Head talk about being Christian is so different from any religious person have ever known in my life. Like these other people make you hate anything
Yeah,
about religion, that you become
totally,
judgmental. But when I hear people like Brian Head talk about how religion impacted his life, it's different. At least these people
totally,
don't judge.
totally.
But so for South African women fighting herself in this boys club, how does it feel like to find yourself in the studio working with basically just men around you? How is it as an experience, especially in terms of production? Like we are not even just a woman who is singing or songwriting, you are in the
Right.
production.
Um, I kind of see myself as like a 14-year-old boy, you know. So I have the same mentality and humor and silliness, and so I get on really really well with boys and men in general. And I grew up in bands, you know. I put my first band together when I was 12. So it's been me and the boys my entire life. I'm really one of the boys. So there isn't a I haven't felt yeah, I mean, I haven't felt too much adversity from the band. I mean, the more adversity I felt is more from like record labels, you know. They're like like, you know, some chick producing the record, you know, whatever, or she's a whatever grade producer, you know, like really derogatory crap. But and not allowing, just because, you know, the just with everything's so entwined. The record labels want to use their own producers because they're signed to the record label, which means when they get paid and they get the percentage of on the song, the record label gets the percentage. So it's just this like crazy pyramid scheme. And
Mm-mm.
it's I mean, the whole Pigs project was born out of my love-hate relationship with the music industry, you know, just kind of sitting idly by for years and years, just watching all of this stuff go on, which I don't agree with. But you know, it's also, you're trying to climb the ladder, so you don't want to say anything out of fear of retribution, and then they don't use you because, oh, that bitch opened her mouth,
Oh.
you know. So it's kind of like it's been a really uh interesting journey and battle, just to see that and channel that into this project. I mean, for the Grey Daze project, working with the Grey Daze guys was one of the best experiences of my life. Sean
Yeah,
is
I was like thinking today, I was like, I have so much respect for these guys for the fact they trusted you with the
yeah,
album.
yeah,
Like,
it
hey, like you are not even American, you are not that famous in terms of production, and you are a woman,
totally,
and this is legendary artist. We're talking about the vocals of Chester Bennington. So
totally.
you basically produced an album for the young Chester, so which is insane.
It's
And
absolutely mind blowing. I mean, Sean has had, I mean, he's just such a big supporter of women in general. I see that with him when he speaks about people in general. He doesn't see them as man, female, black, white, whatever. It's just like, are you good at your job? Boom, you know?
yeah,
So it's,
how did they get to meet you? How did it happen, this connection?
so I've been friends with Wub, the drummer from POD, for for years and years. We used to hang out in San Diego like 10 years ago. And he put me in touch with Renee Mata, who's now my manager. And it was actually my very first management meeting with Renee. Well, just like the date, you know, the dates. It's like, do we vibe? Do you want to take me on as a client? And so I drove to LA to NRG recording, and the Grey Daze guys were there. And while I was waiting for Renee, I was just chatting with Mace and Sean and Kristen, and they were like, well, can you play us some of the stuff that you've done? And at that time, I just finished producing the new Alien Ant Farm EP. Yeah. So, and they're all huge Alien Ant Farm fans. So they were just like, oh my gosh, this stuff is so rad. Like, you know, they were just like super stoked and super complimentary. And Sean was like, would you be interested in trying out production on one of these songs? And I'm like, oh. No, of course. Oh my gosh. Like, what a crazy opportunity, you know, that some girl from South Africa, like 12,000 miles away, ends up in a meeting at the same place where one of like her idols band, like first band, is there. It was just, you know, I really do believe in fate and destiny, and I do not believe that I'm here in America for everything to fizzle out, you know. I believe that, and I'm a late bloomer for sure. Like, I've done some cool stuff in my life, but it's like everything now that I'm really been working towards is kind of coming, it's like channeling, you know. And usually this happens to people in their early 20s, and you know, I'm in my mid 30s, so it's like I'm super stoked.
I think everything happens at the right time. I mean, nobody could have ever thought that this album could happen in this way. It wasn't even the plan like that.
Totally.
So everything was different. But I do believe, like, you know, I believe in destiny. So it's like we have a purpose, there is a calling. But and when you connect the dots, just in your case, you find that everything in your life was leading you to there where you are right now, or to that moment where you met them. And I don't know, it was like, damn, if you look back at that moment when you came back from a failed tour in the US with your first band, and you were like so depressed and thinking, oh my gosh, what did I do? And now you look where you are and you think like, gosh, this happened for a good reason, and we can't see it.
It really is amazing. And the relationships, like I've said this a couple of times, like out of such a devastating act, you know, what happened with Chester, like so much light and love and positivity have come out of it. Like Kristen, the guitar player from Daze, is like, him and his wife have become like my best friends. You know, it's like we hang out as much as we can. We make other music together. We probably talk to each other almost every day on the phone, you know. And I'm a person that is very selective with my friend group. I don't have the bandwidth or the emotion. I'm super emotional person. So it's like letting somebody into my life is like, I fall so madly in love with them, and then I feel like I don't get that same love back, and it just destroys me as a human. So I keep my distance from people a lot, you know.
Yeah, I can relate to so much stuff you are saying, but it's funny because for years I was wondering, like, I remember reading one of the lyrics of Paramore. Actually, it says like, somewhere weakness is our strength, and I've always knew that my weakness was being emotional. I hated that at some point because I would start crying out of nowhere. Anything can hurt me, and I was like, what could be? How can this be strength? But then I think in terms of creativity or something artistic, whatever, we can express ourselves, like in your case through music or connecting with the people you meet. I think like you do a great job at integrating or adapting at any environment. I mean, the proof you connected with Brian just because you found yourself in the same studio at the same time. Brian, important.
Yeah.
How did it happen? Like now you are collaborating with each other.
Right. And once again, that's Chester bringing all this awesomeness into my life. And I have so much to Sean and Kristen and Mace to thank for opening these doors. I think, I don't know, like Head and I just, the moment, it was really cool. The moment like he walked into the room and I walked into the room, like we had this connection. And then after he had been chatting with someone, he pulled me aside and he was like, I'm so intrigued by you. Like, who are you? Tell me about you. And the cool thing is like Love and Death were what, and they still are. That record from 2013 is one of my favorite records of all time. So like I don't keep a lot of music on my phone, but like the two records that I have on my phone are Deftones, White Pony, and that Love and Death record. You know, and I pulled up my phone in the studio and I was like, check it out, I have your Love and Death record. And he was just like, his mind was so blown. And so we connected from there, and he's just such a cool dude, and I think we really like resonated with. He'd been through the whole church thing and got really burnt by the church, but continues to like you know, Jesus really changed his life. I think that's so cool.
I love how this impacted his life. Like, I'm so happy for people who found peace within themselves this way. I'm not a religious person at all, but when I hear someone like Brian talking about his journey with Jesus or God, I'm like, this is just amazing. I mean, I'll be happy for people. This worked for him. He's healing. He found recovery and all that, and it's great. Whether for him or, for example, Austin Carlile, also he has similar story like Brian. So it's just amazing. Or Lacey Storm as well. She talked about mental health and how through Jesus she found her way. So I think I'm really happy for such people.
I think it's about like finding your tribe. You know, I think that's the vibe, and whether it be like AA or church or like, I don't know, just like a band, you know, everybody finds their journey, and I think it's the same safety net, you know, that
exactly. It's finding a safe place where you can be simply yourself or just feel safe.
I don't know if you know, you may or may not know, but the Grey Daze boys and I have been working on the new Grey Daze record for the entire time last year during the pandemic, and we have this last weekend we finished the entire writing and pre-production of the record, and going into the studio in the next couple of months to start recording the new record. It's happening, and it's so
amazing. I mean, honestly, I can't believe when this album was announced, I didn't know how to feel about this. Like, you know, it's new beginning and without Chester, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know these people, and they're working with, and Chester's my favorite vocalist of all time. So I was like, I don't know what to expect, especially that, you know, at the beginning, many people were like, didn't know how to think about this. Like, okay, now he's dead and they are using his vocals. Everybody had different idea, but when they start making, I love the videos, the documentaries they make behind the scenes. You cannot watch this without feeling it was real. All the emotions, everything. I don't know. This album to me was how I was able to get over grief and just accept a new beginning. And it's crazy. It takes us back to the beginning of Chester. We can feel and understand him. I don't know.
You're making me emotional.
It's really a special album. I'm friends with Meso. He's been like, I felt he was kind of busy and stuff, and I'm so happy. I can't wait for what's coming.
The first record was so special, and it was like this an amazing journey and learning curve and bringing the team together.
Yeah.
And this next record is just like, you know, I've been so close to it for an entire year now, listening to it and going back and forth and making changes and rewriting things and every single time I listen to it, I'm still like, holy shit. Like this morning I sent Kristen a message. I was like, I freaking just gave myself whiplash listening to Starting to Fly in the studio, just because I'm just like, what? This sounds so crazy. And it's such an honor, and thank you for, you know, being open and allowing, like, welcoming me as a complete stranger into this team. I know how people feel about Chester, and that having somebody so incredibly removed from his other projects, you know, it's a big trust thing. And so thank you for trusting me into the rest of his fans, for trusting me with the Grey Daze guys.
Yeah, I cannot even think about these songs coming out any better. Like, for me, this is just perfect because you can still feel that there is a 90s vibe in them, but it's so fresh. Even fans of Chester, I think they must be proud of people like you that they are part of this project, because you made this album sound the way it is. And I'm so happy that you are also included again in the second album.
I think something that's really cool, like a lot of producers and songwriters and stuff haven't actually ever played in a band or played in a metal band or played in a rock band and been out on the road and freaking understood what it was like to freaking live in a car and tour and freaking, you know, so it's been, I think the energy that I'm able to bring to this project is very much what Chester would want. You know, it's like he worked his ass off to get to where he is, and so have we all. So it's wonderful to be able to be a part of.
Yeah, especially the part 7 of the making of Emmons. On I watched it and I got goosebumps. The moment I saw there was you, Monkey, and Brian, and I saw. I don't know. I was like, are they crying? And I don't know. It seemed like they were too emotional. Monkey and Brian both.
So emotional.
There was a moment they were like that. I was like, damn. And then there were you waking them up from their emotions. But it was such a moment, and I never knew the depth of. I don't know. I mean, I know that Monkey and Brian knew Chester and Linkin Park, but I would have never expected to see such reaction. And the way Monkey was speaking about Chester in that documentary, I was just like, this is the highest form of respect.
It really is. And what makes like this, I'm trying to put this in a way that's not going to sound weird, but it's like I've been working in the pop music industry for so long, and rock and metal is my thing, but you know, I came to the States and wanted to make money and be more successful, and pop music sells a lot more numbers than it does than rock, you know. So I went down that lane, and man, people are just so freaking shitty in the pop music industry. And it's like, and the crazy thing is like the Monkey and Head, what made this even sweeter is that they are just the kindest, the nicest. Like they genuinely want to talk to you. It's like they're so interested. They have this humbleness. And to be honest, I find most metal boys that way. It's like why I love metal boys the most, you know, because they may be tattooed and crazy looking and whatever, but it's like they generally very gentle spirited humans, and it's usually those like freaking pop guys that are like beating up their girlfriends, you know. So.
And I have actually, some of my friends are also in the music industry, and they have even toured with Korn, so they know Brian and Monkey, and they were telling me about how kind they were, how they were coming backstage to just spend time with them, and they were like also very kind to the team of this band.
It's how you should be. Like you can tell a lot about people, about how they treat the help, you know. And it's like it's like if you, and I think I've seen it a lot actually, again, talking about the pop music industry versus the rock music industry. Like I've worked with some massive pop artists, I'm not going to drop any names, but how they treat like whoever the guy that's, or the girl that's the second engineer or the runner to go get something, is like they treat them like pieces of shit, you know, whereas these guys are just, they're so kind and they really value every single person's part in the process.
That's what makes it a safe space. I mean, rock or metal music. I myself could have never thought of being in any safer or better place than just feeling like I belong, because I know fans of rock music, and now I know bands who are my friends, and I know people who work also, you know, and they are just also kind. Especially I would have never expected, because even normal people here couldn't even fit with them in Europe, you know.
I've heard that France has a really cool metal scene.
I don't know. I'm not really very connected to French people for some reason. I don't know, my opinion or my experience at least, especially being North African here and with the stereotypes about North Africans, I don't feel like I'm very welcomed here. Like people,
really?
And even though my French, like I speak very well French, like I don't even have an accent, and people the moment you mention you are not French, I'm like, oh, that's why you have an accent. And I like in a
Interesting.
rude way, or if they see you at a rock show and you mention, like, I wouldn't mention it, but at some point the conversation, if I meet some random fans outside the venue and I would mention where I'm from, they would be like, really? And you can feel how, okay, it's like you are an outsider. I don't know, it's
Where
how I
are you
feel.
from again originally?
Tunisia,
Oh wow, that's
you know.
awesome.
So yeah, that's why. But I feel more comfortable with Americans and people from other places in Europe, like German people or Netherlands, more than French people. So I don't know. Lucas won't like what I'm saying, but it's fine.
Well, I never, I've heard that a lot, to be honest, about French people in general. But I love Lucas. He's the sweetest, kindest, most
Yeah, I
talented,
mean, of course,
wonderful.
there
So
must be some cool people out there, not all of them. But if I am to speak about the music industry, I would say I have zero chance here of ever integrating the music industry just because my nationality. They would never give you any value just because, I don't know, it's just like that, you know. There is discrimination and racism here.
I'm sorry you feel that way. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I know. But anyways, maybe one day I'll move to LA. Who knows?
Maybe you can come hang out in my chicken coop.
Yeah, I mean, now I know many people from there. So, and it's cool. Like, I kind of found, I don't know, I'm just doing my own stuff with bands, just
Right.
volunteering and stuff like that. But I love this industry so much. So, but speaking of discrimination and racism, the fact now you are a woman who is working in this field and even in production, and of course, you know, that's mainly men and white people, and even black people are not given that much of value in the industry. Like, are there any PUC bands, for example, you would love to work with?
Like you know what? I'm a creature of habit. I went to boarding school, so like regimented stuff is kind of my thing, and I guess it's happened the same with the music I love. Like I've fallen in love with particular bands, and I kind of don't listen to anybody else. So Deftones is my favorite band. I would love to work with Chino and the guys. Abe Cunningham is one of my favorite drummers. I played drums the whole way throughout high school, so just the way he plays really has a huge influence on my feel. Alanis Morissette is, I mean, if I
Yeah,
could work
I
with her,
know.
I would be so stoked.
So you want to work with your idols, basically.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that would be the cool thing, you know. It's like, um, I mean, I don't see, and please take this, anybody listening, like it's an honor to make music with anybody that is up and coming and creative and has been working hard and deserves to be put into rooms with producers and songwriters. It really is. It's a pure joy to make music with people. But if I can be completely selfish, like, you know, who I want to make music with is literally like to sit in a room with Shirley Manson from Garbage. You know, I just made the connection with the Kitty Girls. I don't know if you remember the band Kitty from like
No.
late 90s, early 2000s. And we're going to be collaborating on a song for We Are Pigs, which I'm very excited about. Like these are so cool. You know, it's like all my musical heroes
Yeah,
growing up. So
yeah,
that really would be, at some point, I feel like you have to be a little selfish and want to fulfill those
yeah.
places.
I mean, especially in the beginning, like now, you are rising, so for sure, it's your right to do that. I mean, given the shit you've been through, so it's your right if you want to enjoy that. But I don't know. I think at some point in your career, if you reach some level, for example, where you feel, okay, I'm satisfied. I've worked with so many bands I love, and because in your position, you have, like, you would have some power to represent either women or any person you like you see is underrepresented. So that's
Right.
why I was I that my question came from there. Actually, I was like, she's a woman there, she's representing women.
I
So
think
maybe
I
there
think
are some.
as I've got older, like I'm a very like I said earlier, I'm more attracted to, and that's the wrong word, but it's like I would rather be surrounded by guys in a band than girls in a band. But I think as I've got older, it's kind of women have just become so much cooler to me. I'm just like, whoa, like if I could make a record with Alanis Morissette, like that's fucking rad. She's a freaking badass. She had one of the, still to this day, one of the biggest selling records ever. She's a mom. She's a freaking like advocate. She's got, you know, Shirley Manson, the same thing. Skin from Skunk and Nancy. You know, all of these bands, I just think, and I think the fact that it's like maybe in the world's eyes that they're kind of outdated, you know, because they're past, and I'm like, let's bring them back now because kids need to hear like the freaking Jagged Little Pill album or the Under Rug Swept album, or kids need to hear the first couple of Skunk and Anansie records or the Garbage records, you know, women especially, because I feel like, you know, and as much as I like artists like Halsey and you know, artists like that, I feel like it's really contrived. You know, it's like it's really been, it's so perfectly put together. And I kind of like the, you know, go play in a band for 5 years and then write some music, you know, where it's like you have to rough it. It's just something a little bit more raw, and I think that girls should be seeing more that side of stuff now, rather than like continual freaking selfies and, oh, my makeup's perfect, and like, let's see the unperfect and the ugly, because that's where the freaking music and the gut comes from.
That's true, but even like in general, I mean, the last albums, I feel like at some point, even in rock music, everything became just like so perfect, and the videos are becoming like
it's horrible.
Everything's like kind of, you can expect what every band's gonna do. But recently, I feel like in these, since 2018, some new stuff is coming, and I love, because for me, I was like, I would never think I can become fan of any new band right now. You know, I was like, my old bands, these are like the real ones. I don't want to listen to this new stuff. To be fan of any new band was kind of hard until just recently. It just happened. For example, I go to shows and I don't like the support bands. I'm like, I don't want to discover, you know. I'm done. I have my playlist, that's it. Only now I feel like there is some change, there is something fresh in the music, in rock. And I love the fact there are many now who are coming back to mixing hip hop and rock, but in more innovative way.
Right.
So yeah, talking about Pigs, your band. Why the name Pigs? I was like, I want to
know. So We Are Pigs is kind of birthed out of, the whole project is like a concept album, and it's a concept project. And if you don't know like what a concept album, it's sort of, it has a underlying narrative, and the whole narrative of this song is of the album and the project is kind of like, it's a voracious depiction of the music industry through my experiences. And even though I don't think pigs are a negative thing, because like pigs actually in like Asian cultures are very positive things, it's just, I felt like fundamentally all of us as humans are somehow stuck in the pigsty. We somehow manage to get ourselves in the pigsty. Like we all get our hands dirty at some point to, you know, to be able to move to the next level or to rise above or to learn something. So We Are Pigs is kind of, it's just like a silly name, but it's grown.
I understand what you mean. Yeah,
it's grown on me. And the first song that I actually ever wrote for this project in 2016. That's how long I've been working on this project for. It's a song called Pigs, and it's the song that I've collaborated on with Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins. So and the chorus just says, we're just pigs, you know, like at the end of the day, we as humans, like we have a really ugly side to us.
Yeah.
You know, I feel, have you ever read the book Lord of the Flies?
No, not really.
So it's a great book. You should read it, and it's a movie too. And it's kind of got that like crowd mentality, like what people do in crowds, like even like what just happened in America now at
Yeah.
the,
So
you know,
that,
it's like what people do in crowds is not necessarily always a good thing. And so it's like I guess it's just like humans are, it's that whole thing, are humans fundamentally good or are they fundamentally evil? That I will leave up to you to decide. I have my opinion, I have my thoughts on it, and that is
I
for me
think
to know
I
and for
believe
you to decipher.
I see things and people in terms of yin and yang, you know. I'm like, every person has a bad side and every person has a good side. But
Yeah,
it's up to you which side you let dominate. You
right.
see, that's why
100%.
there are,
100%.
yeah, so I understand the concept of pigs. And
Yeah.
so is it an album based on collaborations, or that's just you making everything? Is it something you're going to collaborate with any of the people you are working with?
Yeah, so it's 100% a collaborative album. This is my uh my selfish, like me taking care of me
Okay.
record. I mean, I've reached out to, I mean, I told you I've been in the music industry for like over 20 years. You know, I
Yeah.
started playing in my first band when I was 12.
But it
Uh,
doesn't look like you. You look so young. So when you tell me
well,
22,
thank you.
I'm like, damn, I'm 25. I can't believe she's been here in the industry for 20 years.
Um, yeah, so I mean, I've, you know, and I've toured with so many bands like Fall Out Boy and Seether and Evanescence and like blah blah blah, you know. So I've become friends with so many people in the past 20 years, and I've never called on the favor. And so now, I mean, even though the pandemic was such a terrible thing for the entire world, I used it very selfishly to finish this project because all musicians were at home. Everybody had a little bit more time, so I literally hit up everybody. You know, I hit up Chino from Deftones, I hit up like Shirley Manson from Garbage, I hit up Alanis Morissette, I hit up freaking, you know, Head from Korn, I hit up Billy Corgan, and I'm just like, I really believe, like, I don't know if you know who Amanda Palmer is. She was in a band called the Dresden Dolls, which you should look her up. She has a book called The Power of Asking. And I really believe in the power of asking. Like, the worst that anybody can say is no. You know, it's
That's
like
hard. Like, it's
the
not.
worst that anybody can say is no. And you know what? You have to learn to place boundaries, because people ask things of me all the time. And some things I can say yes to and some things I can say no to. I just have to know my bandwidth. But you know, it's like I sent Head the songs, and I was like, are any of these resonating with you? And he was like, I love this one and I love this one, can I send it to my guitarist JR? And so we just started kind of going back and forth. And yeah, I mean, it's like, and the same thing happened with Billy Corgan. You know, it's just like I literally just hit up Bjorn Thorsered, who did a bunch of the Smashing Pumpkins albums, and said, like, can we hit up Billy, you know, and see what he says? And Billy came back to us and was like, I fucking love this stuff. Like send me the stems. Let's go, you know? So I'm just like, what? You know,
You're
who am I?
literally living your dreams.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And like these things, it's just to have the validation from people. And again, it's art, you
What,
know.
how
The
did you?
music is subjective, and some people are going to like it and some people aren't, and that's totally fine. But for people like for Brian and Billy Corgan and you know, whoever else, the POD guys, to be like, wow, this is amazing, we'd love to jump on it, like, that's a cool stamp of approval and validation from who I think are some of the greatest songwriters and artists in the world.
Of course they are. But and it's amazing that they are open to new talent, or to just even people with whom they didn't work, because I'm sure all these names you mentioned have worked with some of the best producers out there.
Totally,
And so why would they work with you? You might have asked
totally.
yourself at the beginning, but just because they are really great people. That's all I
Yeah,
can say. I don't think any of them is that kind of people who treat badly the others, or like who is kind of, feeling superior to others, and that's
yeah.
why probably they're open and they found you have the talent, otherwise they wouldn't work with you. So it makes sense.
And I'm ridiculously good looking.
But
Joking!
I was curious, like, because what you said, the power of asking, I personally always have an issue with that. Like, I can give people, I don't know how much, like, I can do for others, but I can never ask. It's insane how sometimes I put myself in situations like it. I even once had a situation I had to go to the hospital. It was an emergency, and I had to do surgery the next day. I didn't call anybody. I don't know. It's here. I can't ask. And I know many people around me also would say, "You never know. You might miss an opportunity. Ask this person. Ask, that person. Ask them if they need someone to join their team, etc." I cannot. So how did you develop that? Because many people fear rejection actually.
I think I think you have to have a sense for whether
You should ask or not.
yeah, exactly. Like I'm trying to figure out the words. It's like if you just feel like somebody doesn't like you, and some people are just not going to like you just because of what your face looks like. That's just what humans are like. Then probably you're setting yourself up for failure. But I think if there's a vibe, and I'm one of those people that really work with people's vibes. Like if there's a vibe and it's good, and you can, like, ask and just be like, hey, listen, I'm not going to be upset or offended at all if it's a no, but I'm just throwing this out there. What are your thoughts? And I think there's also a way in asking, that you don't presume and expect. I think that, like, spoiled brat mentality is a very American LA thing. Just like everybody thinks they're the fucking shit, and it's just like, come on, dude.
Yeah, and
uh,
I think because also we are at a time where most of the people, they would believe if you approach them, or if you are being even just kind, oh, then you are trying to take advantage of them or trying to take something. So that's why maybe I have this thing where I don't want to ask so that people don't think I'm trying to. You see what I mean? So
I think also, like, the validation that you get from other people around you. Like, I know that people will speak highly about me and my work ethic and who I am as a human to other people, and it opens. It's like the best business card that you can have. It's like somebody's like, oh yeah, what's that Esjay girl about? And I know without doubt, like, the Grey Daze guys would be like, she's one of the hardest working, most talented,
yeah.
dopest chicks. Actually, forget that she's a girl. She's just one of the dopest, most talented people on this planet. And I know that they would and will continue to open doors for me. And I think being that person that is willing to work without needing accolades the whole time, I think, is a very important thing. I mean, gosh, I feel like I'm still doing it every single day of my life, and it gets wearing. But I really believe that doors will continue to open and friendships will continue to open. And just because what you're putting out into the universe, you have to get back at some point.
I think we all, if we reflect just how far we've come, whether for you or me or anybody listening right now, we all will find that, yeah, it's what you've put out there somehow it will come back in some way. So yeah, I do believe in that energy thing actually. But yeah, it's just amazing. I love your journey for real. And yeah, I want to, like, I asked you about the Christian bands you grew up with. So these are till today your influences, because of course you have discovered some other bands after.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody has formative years, where you develop a sense and a style, and your identity. And I think my identity was really rooted very deeply in bands like POD and Skillet. So that's sort of like rap metal, new metal era. That's my favorite time in music. Sonically, just there's just something about it that I can't quite put my finger on, and that no band or album that's currently working seems to be able to capture. I mean, it's good that things evolve, but
Yeah.
I definitely I mean, after high school, and I graduated in 2000. Um, so like bands, then I started getting into. I got super into Incubus, and that was my first tattoo that I got was
Whoa,
the Make Yourself
that's
tattoo.
insane.
It
That's
needs to be touched up now, but it's like Brandon Boyd, like I was obsessed with him. He's so freaking hot and sexy and gorgeous and beautiful, and the album is so cool. Like that Morning View record is still one of my favorite records sonically, because I love the fact that the band went and lived in a house together for a month or however long they did, and they tracked it. And um, I'm of the mindset that that's the way that albums should be made. That the band should be all together focused, and that you should just put all that energy, without having to worry about wives and kids and life, just for that 1 month. And I think a lot of the reason why so many albums that you listen to now feel so disconnected is because they have like 700 producers on them and 700 songwriters. And I think it's really important that it's like you, especially from a band point of view, that you capture the band's like DNA, and that the band is imprinting on this record. So having the band all together and everybody like eating, sleeping, drinking, partying, fighting,
all their heart
it's a
and
vibe. It's a vibe, and it like gets imprinted onto the record. And I think that's what's going to happen with this next Grey Daze record, which I'm super excited about, because we've literally, as a band, and the Grey Daze guys are so sweet because they call me the fifth member of the band. It's like we've been together for a whole year now, picking these songs apart piece by piece by piece, which we never got the opportunity to do that on the first record. So I think this is really going to be set apart, and that Grey Daze and Chester are just going to imprint on this next record, which I'm super excited about.
you're making me so excited about this. Like I cannot.
I'm so excited about it.
I cannot wait. I really cannot wait for that, because I'm sure, just like you said, for these bands who would spend an entire month or whatever working on one album, it's actually all their energy and passion connecting in one place, and they would
Totally.
the best. And in your case, one thing connected all of you. It's like trying to make Chester proud, and which you obviously,
Totally.
and that's why. So I'm sure this album is going to be amazing, and I'm hoping that there will be more collabs in it. I don't know if there will be some guests on this album, but, I'm hoping.
Not say a word.
I'm hoping, because honestly, I asked Nate actually about the previous album, because when I knew that there are people like Chris from Bush or Monkey and Head, I was like, damn, this is amazing. This is like the highest form of respect to include other artists in this. And I asked like, whose idea was this? And he said it's Sean. So I was like, damn, this is amazing.
Well, the whole idea behind having an artist feature or collaborate on the record, which this time around it's going to be even more so. It's artists that Chester was obsessed with.
Oh god.
So it's his.
I think I know who you're talking about.
It's his favorite artists, So, and I'm not guaranteeing that there will be features on the record, but this time moving forward, it's been very important to Sean and to Mace and to Kristen that this time round it's a very small family unit, and that this is about who was Chester's biggest influences.
Yeah, guys.
I actually have goosebumps just talking about it.
That's insane what you're doing, and I truly hope that the guys, Sean or Mace, know how this means, I mean, for the fans of Chester, especially knowing, hearing about all these stories, how it all how it connected all of you, and it gave you an opportunity or opportunities to work with all these artists you are able now to work with. Just crazy. Because I'm like, have you ever thought that you'll find yourselves working with these people that were your idols in one day?
No way. No way. I mean, this is so cool. And again, I really do have Chester first of all to thank for it. But Sean, he's been so he just has opened his Rolodex to me, for a lack of a better term. It's just like he's being so supportive, and even though there's always a lot of politics that goes into making a record, especially on a major label, but the guys have been my biggest fans and have fought to have me on this record as much as they can, and have continued just to open doors for me. And I think it's going to be really cool because I think this record is going to open even more doors for a female as a producer and a songwriter and as an engineer. I do think, I mean, it kind of sucks that you have to have this crazy resume, still in 2021, people still think that guys can do things better.
Yeah.
But I think that this record in particular is gonna shake things up for women in the music industry.
Yeah, that's why I'm hoping that we see you working with some female artists, even though I know you want to work with your idols, but I'm like, damn, she's representing women out there. So I don't know. I know it's just like a boys' club, it seems. I mean, the music industry, and for women who get there, also people would be like, oh, she must have done something to get there, you know?
Yeah,
And if she
yeah,
knows
totally.
people,
Well, and that's the thing as well, is like it honestly is like that. It's either, and I'm going to be very crass, but it's like either, a lot of women do fuck their way to the top, and that's not who I am. As if you know me, like, I'm probably the most asexual person you've ever met. It's like I don't give off any vibes for anybody. I'm just one of the dudes. I'm one of the girls, and it's just, I'm here to work and I'm equal to you. And there's just it's just not who I am as a human. Like,
yeah, but
I'm not a slutty person.
yeah.
It's just not in my DNA, and I don't believe that I need to fuck anybody in order to be validated, so
Definitely. But the crazy part is like we are now in 2021 and we still feel like women have to prove that they are not like that in order to have some respect or value in the industry, So yeah, it's just insane. And going back to, you said that now the album you're working on, your solo project is with have so many collaborations. So can we expect something with Chino? Because you mentioned he's one of your idols.
I reached out to him about I've reached out to him like 3 or 4 times now.
Wow.
And I'm one of those people that is super persistent, and until somebody says no, I won't bug you, but I'm gonna every couple of months keep reaching out. Um, he he said that he has got a lot on his plate, and that after, once he's done with all of this, he'll take a look at it again. Which I mean, the fact that he even replied was really cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm hoping, we'll see. I'm hoping to do something with Steph too, the guitar player. Samantha Bennington is a great friend of Steph. Steph is Draven's godfather, actually. So I would love to do something with him. Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely in the works. One can hope, I can dream. You never know. Chino does do a lot of really cool collabs with women. I believe like Portishead is one of his favorite bands, and this whole record is Sneaker Pimps meets like Deftones, so it's kind of like a really interesting feel where I've been able to channel a lot of feelings that I felt over the years of being in the music industry, and just feeling like manufactured or forced to do things that I don't particularly want to, but I have to because the label says that that's how it should be. Or
Yeah.
so this project's really just kind of a release
Yeah,
of all those.
I
So,
really loved your cover of the Slipknot song Duality, and I'm not
ah,
even I'm not even a Slipknot fan, and I know many people find that weird because like they expect if you love rock then you love Slipknot, but I love the cover. Like your version, it was just insane. I loved
thank you.
it, and
We had a lot of fun doing that. It was completely left field, out of the blue, and didn't have it planned, but I was just like, I need to. It was probably April or May. It was April, I think. And I honestly just like woke up one morning and I was like, okay, cool. Well, we should just do a cover of Slipknot's Duality. I didn't even. I mean, I probably should have put a lot more care into it, but I was just like, everyone just throws songs together and puts them out, you know. So
it was
it's so
Brendan's voice.
Carrie from Alien Ant Farm and I just like did it and put it out, and it was fun. It's a nice little start to the project.
Yeah, what about Pearl's Queen? How was working on that? Like this is the new single now, Pearl's Queen, and it's also a cool one. And
Thank you.
how was the process? Did you work on it during the lockdown? Who were the people involved in this?
I started writing that song in November 2018.
Wow.
It was finished in December 2018. I've had this entire album is basically done. I've had it for since 2018, and now I'm kind of bringing in guests on it, and collaborating that way. So I think at that time in life, I was just feeling really burnt out. I just needed to have a release in something, and I'd created this beat. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Abe Cunningham. He's the drummer from Deftones. And so I've studied his drumming style a lot, and all these cool little nuances and where the hi-hat is placed, and like an open hi-hat here or like a little ding ding over here. So I tried to create, I went on to Splice, which is a really cool platform for beats and sounds. And I basically just I wanted this to be like a trap nu metal hybrid, something that I feel like that kind of depressed trap stuff is so massive right now, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make some depressed trap stuff. So I basically put together a beat, and sent it over to Lucas in Paris, and he came back and had this really cool riff, which is the and so it was actually like 3 semitones too high for me, so I pitched it and then like sang over. The song was originally called Guillotine, and then I was actually listening back because I'm doing a behind the scenes making of it, of what the original lyrics were, and I was like, whoa, the song changed so much. And then so basically I threw a melody down, Lucas went and retracked the guitars, and then I programmed everything else around it. So it's basically trap beats, 808s, some synths, and heavy as all hell guitar. And I wanted it to be like thick and raw and just brutal, because I was really, really. I mean, I really don't want to sound bitter and angry, because I'm really not a bitter and angry person at all. But at that moment, I'd just been really frustrated, and I felt really hurt out of a relationship in the music business, and it was born out of that, just kind of like, man, it's kind of fake friends,
Yeah.
and letting just seeing people for who they really are once they get into money or once they get into fame, and people changing and forgetting who you are. So it was kind of born out of that. And so it sounds angry, and it is angry.
That's not a bad thing. After all, music is there to express oneself. So
Right.
sometimes
Right.
people sometimes we are angry and you need to listen to something angry. So I think there will be people who would be like, I needed this right now,
Right.
to get that out and relate. So yeah, that's not
all my friends that know me, like I'm 6'1". I'm a really, really tall, like big, goofy person. I have long arms and long legs.
I
So
would be like
everyone's always just like everyone's always just like, they're so surprised because my personality is very silly and goofy, and I think I'm hilarious, but I'm actually not funny at all, kind of person. And then when they hear this, they're like, whoa, like, where does this anger come from? We don't see this Esjay side. And I'm like, I keep it all inside, guys.
yeah, but that's actually also like Chester, when you hear him on some songs of Linkin Park, like screaming and like shut up when I'm talking to you, and you're like, where does this come from? And when people, many people who I know who met him in real life were like, he's just so kind and nice.
Yeah,
So it's through music. That's the way to express yourself. So and get your message
totally.
out. And you are doing this. So I really cannot wait for your album of pigs.
Thank you. Well, I'm actually just dropping singles this entire year.
Okay.
So the next single is going to come out next month, and then probably every 8 to 10 weeks, I'm dropping singles all year long.
And
So
some of these coming singles are the ones including the collab with Brian. Because I'm a huge fan of Brian. That's what I'm asking.
that song is scheduled for May or June, because I wanted to give the Love and Death record some space. The Love and Death record comes out, I think, in March, or February. Where are we now? Are we in January? Yeah, we're in January.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, and I think the Love and Death record comes out on like the 12th of February or something. So I wanted to give it a couple of months just to breathe and get the love that it deserves before.
Till now, the singles he released are just insane. So I cannot wait. Also,
yeah, they're
there's
cool.
lots of new music coming.
Yeah, there is. I think that, you know, this time of everybody quarantining has allowed people to make so much music. So I think that it's just going to be like a vomit of music coming soon.
Well, I'm so happy to have had this conversation with you. For real, you're just an inspiring person, even for someone who is not in this production thing. Just the fact when you speak about your journey and the struggle you went through and not giving up on your dreams and everything is just really so inspiring. And I want to thank you for being who you are.
Well, thank you. That really, really means so much. I think sometimes as humans we can feel like failures, but because, you know, what we aren't seeing the big picture. You know, a lot of the times I have to remind myself, I get really like, oh my God, I'm not doing enough, and like this is not good enough, and then I'm like, Esjay, you had a massive career in South Africa. It ended, you started again in a brand new country with nobody. You know, it's like you have to give yourself self credit and really be your biggest fan. So I think it's if I can be inspiring to women in any way, it's like you have to be your biggest fan and be brazen and be out there and keep pushing and go ask the uncomfortable things. You know, it's like, hey man, I want this job and this is why I think I deserve it. Or hey, I want you to do this for me and this is why I think that you would be the right person to do it. And you know, I think that there's value in that, and people really respect that and they like that because they're like, whoa, okay, this chick knows what's up.
Yeah, exactly. Just one last question. I was curious, like, if you would go back in time now to that moment when the first day you came back home after your failed tour in the US, and what would you tell that girl, that young Esjay at that moment?
Man, that's a great question, and I honestly wouldn't know how to answer it. I'd probably just be like get out of bed, homie, because in freaking like 10 years time, you're going to be working on Chester Bennington's record with freaking the guys from Korn and you know, all of these, and Billy Corgan and, you know, POD guys, you know, these guys are going to be your friends. So I know, but you never know that. you know?
Yeah, of course. It's just,
You have to go through, I do think that you have to go through really bad things in order to be the best you can be creatively. And I know that sounds like a weird thing, but I definitely, from an artist perspective and from a songwriting perspective, I am my best when I'm not happy. And I know that sounds crazy,
I understand.
but I seem to function better as a songwriter and an artist when things aren't going right in my life, because it's giving me that grit to, you know, when I'm happy, it's like the songs are too happy, you know, it's like, ew, like throw that pop shit away, let's go make some metal.
I think that's also the case for many creative people and artists in general. Because that's a time when you sit with yourself and you have to face yourself and reflect and everything, and something good comes out of it. Because when you're happy, you don't focus on yourself. Actually, you're not connecting to yourself. You're just busy with other stuff. So maybe that's why. So, thank you so much. I like, stay safe, and I cannot wait to hear your new music. I'll definitely let you know what I think, even though I'm sure I will love it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to finally, I know we've been friends on Instagram for so long, but it's so nice to finally chat to you face to face.
Totally. I hope to meet you one day.
Oh, we will, girl. We're gonna rage in Paris. One day when this pandemic is over, we will meet in Paris, and we will freaking party our asses off. Can't wait.
Sure.
See you soon. Bye.
There goes a bell's ring. You cannot slow me. See the stains in your